Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Brew with Memli. You know the drill. This time we're going to talk about immersion volume. So first time was immersion time. We agreed on 40 seconds of 40 to 45. Second grind size, we're going to set it to 8, so medium fine. 15-gram dose instead of a classic recipe using 20 grams. Remember our other recipe, 1 to 15 ratio, 15 grams of coffee, 225 grams of water. Here, what we're going to play with is the immersion volume. So for my first coffee, I'm going to put 40 grams. That's it. For the second one, 50 grams. And for the third one, 60 grams. The idea is that more immersion maybe emphasize something else. So I'm really curious about the result here. And we're going to pour the same amount, so another 40 grams. Now, at 1 minute 20, I'm going to pour water until 150 grams. That is to just equalize all the brews. Then I will use another kettle where I'm going to drop my temperature by 10 degrees. And I'm pouring until 225. I believe that more volume may retain the heat a little bit better than lower volume. So maybe the heat dissipation is less for the high volume. So 3 minutes 30 for the first one. At 30 seconds, sorry. 40 grams immersion. 50 grams immersion. We are 3 minutes 40. We are at 3:42. So not a big difference. Let's let them cool down a little bit, and let's come back with the sensory results. Nice punch, nice vibrancy, good sweetness as well. Very similar. We feel slightly more caramelly notes, so slightly less punch. And here we are a bit smoother, just on the nose. We can detect slightly more intensity here. On the quality, they are both really the same. Nice brown sugar caramel, grapefruits here, figs, florals. So not a big difference in the quality of the aroma, but in intensity with lower volume with slightly more intensity. Oh. Well, as expected, we have a lot of vibrancy and bright acidity on a 40 grams immersion. Where acidity is really there with a sweetness, which, as in cooking, really elevate all the flavors. So it really intensifies the brew. Here, the acidity is not as aggressive, still present to back up the sweetness, and it's a really sweet brew. And it's probably the sweetest brew as well. It's a huge tie between those two. Little bit of brightness, but it's really quite hard to tell, really. So we can definitely say that a lower immersion during the blooming phase result with a slightly brighter cup of coffee. Let's check the texture. Mm. Here, nice juiciness, very similar. Now that one, that's why we get some nice creaminess. So we really have a shift. I think texture-wise, we have the same here, and here this is heavier, nice, creamy, really, really positive. Not that this is light, it's just slightly more pleasant, slightly smoother. And for the acidity, we have something a little bit sharp here and something slightly more balanced here. For the aftertaste, little bit of dryness on this one. We don't find that dryness here. Extremely smooth and very sweet on this one. It's very hard because there is something here that I like. There is a flavor clarity that is beautiful, but the acidity is a little bit too sharp. And um, it's sort of still a show over the texture and the dryness. So definitely not going to use that one because of the dryness and the slightly unbalanced acidity. Curious about those two now. Mm. As it cools down, it gets a little brighter. This one gets a bit sweeter. Mm. Very smooth. My preference, it's very hard because this has a nice clarity once again. It's extremely similar. Now, we do have a slightly more lingering finish on the 60-minute one, 60 grams one. Let's do a triangulation. Yes, this wasn't easy at all. I think what helped me was the texture mostly. Um, when I first started, I was really surprised by the high acidity of this one, which is a 50 grams one. And then it mixed up a little bit with aftertaste. So that's why I was going back and forth. But here, as it cools down, the acidity that was more on the medium side, get a little bit more nuanced, more balanced with the sweetness. So I will definitely go for 60 grams. So remember, we're using my coffee, my Peruvian bourbon washed, roasted on the lowering S15. It's important to precise that because these things may differ if you are using another roaster, maybe another origin, another process. I only use it with some natural Ethiopian, Peruvian washed, Honduras washed, and Java carbonic maceration to basically have some correlation and some empirical data. However, it's important to note that every machine, every situation might be different. So it's up to you to try it. But for our system, we are going to use, remember, 40 seconds of immersion using 60 grams, 8 on my Ditting, so that's a medium fine, not too medium. That's because we're using 15 grams of coffee. Our almost final recipe is 15 grams of coffee, 225 grams of water, 60 grams immersion for 40 seconds, 60 grams pour. Then we have a very small pour of 30 grams that probably needs something there. before doing a 75 grams immersion at 82 degrees. Now, on the last fine tuning, we are going to discuss the second kettle temperature, where I will use 92 degrees as my base, as usual, but then I'm going to use 87, but I'm going to use 82 degrees, 78, 77, 78 degrees, and then, oh no, but I'm going to use 82 degrees, 72 degrees, 62 degrees. So let's see as we're dropping up, as we are dropping down the last immersion temperature, what will give us the best result. So see you next time for the last iteration.